Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Inspiring Joy. My name is Jody. So in today's video, we are going to take a particular pot that I picked up from an antique store and turn it into something different. So I'll show a graphic here of my inspiration. And from there, we're also going to add handles. So it's going to be a fun project. I look forward to spending this time with you, and thank you for joining me. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll walk through the process together. Hi everyone. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I think first what I'm going to do is paint the outside of this, just a solid color to get us started. And then from there, I'm going to add some grays and black tones. So with the inspiration, and I'm looking at the picture here and on the side view in front of me, I do have it's more of like a chalky gray to start with, and then it has components of black. I don't see a whole lot of brown. I could probably add some brown at the top, but I'm gonna do more grays and some black. So let's get started with that. So I think what I'll do is first paint with my gray, a large section. So I'm putting my gray paint onto this paper plate to start with. And I like to stand and work at times, so part of the camera may cut part of me off, but that's okay. So I'm going to take my bristle brush here and my paint, and this is just acrylic paint, and I'm going to start just painting over this vase. You know, I'm not sure if it's a vase or I guess it is a vase because it has the opening as well. So I'm just going to paint over it this color, and I need to bring my picture back up that I have for my inspiration. So it's kind of a light gray undertone to start with, so I'm going to go with that all over the pot. And then once I finish that, we'll let it dry a little bit, and then I will add this spackling compound that I picked up. I want to add some areas of some raised sort of, it's almost, you know, if you were to go to Greece or Italy, I have not been to those countries, although I do aspire to get to them at some point. You know, the ruins that are there, right? They have so much architectural detail, and it is just beautiful from what I've seen on videos and movies and things, and I really enjoy the old character of things. And so that's kind of the image that I have of a lot of this, and this jar or vase, as it were, that I want to create the look of. So it's kind of like if you did an archeological dig and you came across this really cool vase under the dirt, and it had some dirt on it and some black from decay and maybe some stone edging, some edges that, you know, were raised on it that you didn't quite chip off because you didn't want to take the original aesthetic of the outside away from the actual item, the bowl or the dish, or in this case, the vase. So I just get super excited and inspired by old world items, things that have been around for just years and years and centuries, long before us came along, all long before we came along. I just get super inspired by those things, and they give me a lot of inspiration for the things that I do around our own home. So I like to mix and incorporate new items with old items. And in this case, this may not be very old, but we're going to make it look a bit old. Now you can also do, you know, more of the vintage look. You can do more of the primitive look. For me, I like all of those too. I also though like to create an old world look with different vessels and different shapes of things. So when I picked up this item, I found this not so much for the outside of it and the paint that it already had, but really just the shape. I liked the open mouth for putting in dry, either artificial plants or flowers. or fresh ones. You know, I have a pickle jar that I can put down the center, and if I want to fill it with water and put real flowers, I think that would be great. I wouldn't put a real plant, real dirt, real flowers just directly in here by itself, just because there's not a drainage hole, and I'm not sure if this would hold water well without kind of ruining the interior of it, or the part of it, the piece of it. But you know, whatever you think's best for whatever you decide to pick up. All right, so I need a little bit more gray to finish up a couple of areas. I still have some area here on this side that has color from underneath from the original. So I'm going to paint that side here. And right under the mouth. I want to get on the lip of it too. Just underneath. I don't want to do the top part just yet because I need to be able to use this top part area to move this around. So what's really neat about this too is it already has some areas where some of the paint came off. So I can probably use some of that area to add some of the spackling that I have. So this is just spackling compound I picked up at a local hardware store. I also have, in order to make the handles, I have this modeling clay that I picked up at a local craft store. I have my paints. I do have some gloves for using the modeling clay and the spackling. I don't really want it on my hands, so it kind of dries out my skin when I do that, so I like to use gloves. And I think that will cover it. I also still have this Dimensional Effects paintable texture paste, but I think for today's project, the spackling and the modeling clay are the items that I'm going to use. Okay, so I'll sit back down. I get excited with these projects, so I stand and sit and move around, and I have to remember that I'm filming because I want you guys to see it too. So I am going to put on my gloves, and I have one little spot back here to finish painting. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do, let's finish this size here. I need to let this paint dry just a bit, so I'll wait, actually. Okay, I got paint in my hand. That happens. All right. So I'm just taking another look at my inspiration pieces here. You know, a lot of vases are either brown, gray, black. You can do a variety of things. You can also leave, I've also seen where they leave some of the top part white. I have another vase that's kind of an all white, and if I were to, you know, update that one in some way, I'd probably leave part of it white and then the rest brown. I think that's a pretty look. You can also paint and then just do like a part of that in this spackling. So many options, so many ways to do things. So this is gonna need to dry, so let's let it dry, and then we'll come back and start on the next step. Hi everyone. Okay, so we are waiting for that vessel to dry with the gray paint that I put on it. So I wanted to bring you outside just for a minute and show you a couple of additional things that we've done here on our deck. So recently I did a video of some outside chores and gardening and patio updates for spring. And I just wanted to show you a couple of other things that we've done. So my husband helped me by bringing out this rug that we had in our garage. We had it up in our attic, in the garage attic, and our chairs. So we originally had our sitting table here with chairs where we have our dinners sometimes in the summer when the weather's warmer. But we decided to bring out the rug here, move the lounge chairs here, and then on this second tier where the grill is, we have our table now. So it just makes a lot more sense in my mind for eating and congregating and visiting with friends and family to have our chairs and table here next to our grill. So I'm super excited with that. And then we're also going to take this planter and we'll do a DIY project on it coming up soon. It's currently very weathered metal, so we're going to update it to be black, and I think we're going to put it on the other side of our deck railing. And I have another one that I think we'll do on the opposite side here, and place it there, and we'll put some plants and so forth in it. We can't plant yet until, at least I wait until after Mother's Day, so we have a little bit of time yet, a couple weeks for planting. So we're just kind of getting everything ready before we bring out the plants. We also have 2 areas where we're going to put some raised bed items. I'll show you those areas here. So we have some stones here. It's just kind of a little stepping stone path area, and we have a window well with a plant here. We have some sedums here. This sedum is a plant, and then that over there is also a sedum, and that large bush here is a hydrangea bush, actually. It's kind of a woody hydrangea, so usually with hydrangeas I'll cut them back, but with this one the blooms will grow on old wood, so we are waiting to see how that turns out. And so we're going to add a planter box here, raised bed. It's going to be about maybe 24 inches high and 36 inches long. And then we have another one that we're looking to put over here as well. That'll be a bit longer, maybe 48 inches long. And I think the shorter one we'll put the herb garden, more of like a kitchen herb garden. And then the longer one, maybe more like root vegetables, carrots, potatoes, celery, I'm not sure. Still trying to figure that out. But more to come with that. Just some ideas, planning ideas that we're coming up with and looking forward to doing in the next month or so. So more projects, more DIYs, gardening, all sorts of fun things to come. Let's go back in and see if the pot is ready for the next step. Okay, so we are back inside, and we're going to get started with step 2 on this. So let me just set my inspiration picture off to the side there. I'm going to put my gloves on, and I noticed I have some paint on my hand. Can you do any craft without getting it on your body? I don't think so. Certainly not that much fun anyway if you don't. So, all right, so here's my spackling compound. I'm just going to kind of get busy with this and make a little bit of a mess, but it's going to be fun. So it kind of feels like a little bit of foam. It's kind of fun to play with. So you just kind of put it on here as thick as you want or as thin as you want, and it just kind of adheres, and it dries pretty fast. So you just want to kind of keep moving with it. I would say with anything other than the paints, when you're using the acrylic paints, you don't really have as much of a smell. I am noticing with this, I'm getting a bit of an odor. So I do have our patio door still open, so just be mindful and aware that, you know, you want to make sure you have enough ventilation when you're using these products. And just be careful of your skin and all that's around you. Make sure your pets and kids and all of that are protected too. So, okay, drop some inside. I don't really want it inside, so I'm gonna bring it back out of here. All right, so I'm just kind of putting it on thick. As you can see, it's pretty cool how this goes on, isn't it? You don't want to leave any kind of pieces of it. You want to make sure it kind of gets smoothed in some regard. Like, you know, this kind of sticky up thing here, you kind of want to, you know, press it down a little bit so it's not so bumpy, if that makes sense. But I'm just doing kind of a striation of it. So I have the undertone of the gray color first, which is why I painted this whole thing gray to start with, because I didn't want any of the actual previous pot color and design to show through. So if anything's going to show through, it's a solid color. So pick your color and then do your compound after your color dries, your base color dries. And do the raised effect as much as you want. This is really, really coming out well. I like the color. I like the look of this. It's heavy in some areas and not heavy in other areas. It is so cool. I love it. I like the effect, the design, the layering. kind of reminds me, you know, of a mummy that has all of the wrapping around it, and yet maybe there are parts of the mummy that aren't covered. Pretty cool. Okay, so I think I have the majority of the areas covered that I want. Some areas maybe a little more thick. That looks so cool. All right, good. Now, this needs to dry completely. So I'm going to take it outside, put it in the sunshine, and let's see how that looks. I'm also going to throw out these gloves. So give me just a minute and we'll go outside and let this dry in the sunshine. So let's walk it out here. I was going to film out here today because it's just beautiful with the sunshine, but it wasn't sunny the whole time and it's a bit cooler today with some wind, so I didn't want to have to deal with my supplies blowing around and trying to manage that while showing all of you how to do this, so, or what my project was. So I'm going to leave it here in the sunshine, and I think it's okay right there. So we'll leave it out here for about 20 minutes and then we'll take it back inside and do some painting. In the meantime, I think I need a snack. Let's go inside and find something. Okay, so this is now dry. The spackling compound that I put on earlier, it took about an hour, maybe 40 minutes to an hour to fully dry. I went ahead and did some other things around the house and I'm back. So let's kind of go through here. I just want to run my hands over it. I don't want to take any type of sanding per se. I don't want to take a sanding block or anything necessarily. I just kind of want to run my hands over this and see if there's anything that just naturally falls off. Now, I will say the areas that have the little raised ball areas, so like this sort of space here that has this little fleck of compound, that's going to fluff off. It is not going to be fully dry. However, the big spaces, the chunked layered areas are dry. Now some of this is a little tacky still, I'm noticing as well. So just be aware of that. If you want to let it dry overnight, that might be better to cure. But for this particular craft, I'm going to continue to move forward. Now I will say, just looking, what I'm going to do is add my handles, and then I'll probably let everything dry overnight and then come back and do all the painting of the surfaces that I want to paint. And I think the colors of the surface painting, let me grab my inspiration picture. So it's more of the, like I said, the muted gray, a little black. I might add a little bit of brown, just, you know, something that makes it look a little bit like dirt might still be on it. If you found this as an archeological dig, for example. So I'm going to do the handles next. Now I'm out of my rubber gloves, so I'm just going to use my hands, even though I would prefer to have gloves. But I'm going to take a big chunk of this, of my clay. I'm going to stand, grab one of my paper plates, and I'll put my clay, my modeling clay, onto the plate. I'm going to use a generous amount because I want to make sure my handles are thick enough. Although I will say I'll probably not use my handles for carrying the vessel, but I want to make sure that they are thick enough to where they don't snap off being too thin. So I just kind of mold these together. Probably separate that one. And you just kind of form it in your hand, rolling it around. Oh, I like the twisted effect. That's pretty neat. So I might just twist it, leave it a little bit twisted, roll it out. And if you need to roll it on your paper, feel free. Let me turn my camera just slightly so I can make sure you can see it. Kind of roll it out like this, you know, like you're rolling dough. I'll move this and I can show you. Making sure that it's an even thickness all the way around. Kind of looks like a hot dog. Must be hungry. All right, so clearly you don't want to eat this, just kidding. Okay, so you'd want to tighten your ends, and I think then we're going to see if we can attach it. So let me get some water, see how that goes. Okay, so we're going to set it there, and then with this end here, we're going to wet down this bottom part here and attach it to this part here. Okay, so you basically wet it down, attaching it to your vessel. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let this set overnight for the first handle that I worked on. So here's what it looks like. And you can see this area is the part where I took some warm water, and up here as well. And let me turn my camera just slightly here. And you can see right between the lip of the vessel, the vase, and around this edge here, it's all kind of tacked down with warm water, and where I kind of took my fingers and just worked the clay onto the vase on both ends. And then I took some more warm water as well and kind of rubbed the warm water around the clay to soften the edges and bring the cracks together. So I do have a little bit of space between the handle and the vessel, and I really like how the spackling compound broke up a little bit here as I was working with the clay and created even more dimension. So I think once we get to the painting part, it'll be even that much more cooler looking. So for now, we'll let this sit overnight, and then we'll come back, do the other side for the other handle, and I'll show you that, and then we'll move on to the next step. So as we wind down this evening and before we come back tomorrow, John is in the kitchen making some dinner. So let me show you what he's making.
Hey.
So, honey, what are you making for us tonight?
We are just going with some Alaskan salmon because we couldn't find Arctic char, but it was a nice thing. Tried something, just one with skin, and then they had these pieces because Whole Foods was kind of running low on their salmon. But this is a really good fatty cut, so it's maybe not. It's going to be healthy and tasty for us.
So, what do you have on the salmon here?
Oh, we go so basic here. We just do a little bit of salt, lemon, a little fresh dill, and that just makes it. The flavors just really pop.
And do you have olive oil too?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yes.
I put olive oil in everything. It's
Sure.
just kind of a yummy thing. And then we just are just doing some. This is pretty meat and potatoes around here. Some red potatoes and some green beans. We'll boil dinner, and we'll just toss the potatoes up in a little bit of butter in the bowl here. Add a little sprig of dill. Just good. No, nothing really else. A little salt, a little pepper. And
Good clean food.
We're going to sit down for a Sunday night feast.
Sounds great. So thank you all for joining in this episode, phase 1 as it were, with my vessel. And we will do part 2 coming up hopefully tomorrow. And we'll see you in that one.